how does Instagram work? Now, that's a $1 million question that when you go online, you'll see many different content creators and coaches and guides trying to share their own opinion of how it works. Now, we have different ideas of how it works because of the information that we might get from maybe the main source, like Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram. But then there are things that we figure out on our own through our own journeys as well. Instagram pretty much has three different roles. There's the content creator, there's the algorithm, and the content consumer. The content creator, pretty much those that are posting content, they're the ones that are creating original content. And I put quotes around original because those are the ones, that's the type of content Instagram prefers. And I'm talking about images and video and text of great value and posted to Instagram in the form of reels, carousels, IG lives, and more. The algorithm is not an actual individual, but a machine learning process, whether you want to label it as just code and programming, that Instagram has. Now, it's not just one algorithm, there are many, and each one uses signals to determine the ranking of your content. The basis is on info on the author, type of content, the relationship between you and anybody else that sees your content. It takes a lot of this information and it generally basically figures out or factors who, when, and where to show content to. And then we have the content consumers. Now, we're talking about some creators because creators can also be content consumers, but the majority of Instagram's audience are content consumers. They're the ones that are actually watching the audience. The viewers of the content that, one, the algorithm has deemed worthy of us to see the content. Two, we intentionally seek in various ways, whether we go to somebody's IG story or just their actual profile account. And three, it's either shared with us via our own followers, friends, and relatives that are already part of our community. This entire way of how I have Instagram labeled here is just pretty much a rinse and repeat process. You're a content creator, you create information, you share it to Instagram, the algorithm determines who sees it and when, and then your audience that it determines is worthy enough of seeing it consumes it. And at the end of it, you repeat the entire cycle. Now, a key point to remember is the more engagement your content receives, is the more consumers the algorithm displays your content to. So if you put out a piece of content there, whether it's a reel, and maybe you get 1,000 people to actually view it and engage with it, whether they leave comments, they like it, it's the more likely the algorithm is going to say, okay, this content seems to be performing well. Let's show it to more people. If by chance your reel is not performing well, maybe it only gets 5 likes and you have over 1,000 followers, the algorithm takes that and factors that and says, well, this piece of content isn't working too well with the audience. We'll show it to less people. Sometimes not at all. You might hear the term shadow banned. That's sometimes a misguided term of it, but that's when the algorithm doesn't believe your content is going to perform well, so it shows it to less people. You got to remember the goal of the algorithm is 3-part. 1, to satisfy consumers. You got to make sure your consumers are happy. 2, keep consumers on the app longer. The longer that consumers are watching on Instagram, they're scrolling, they're going into people's reels, they're communicating with them in the DMs. The more that they're on the app is the more money that Instagram makes, because apparently they're going to see more ads during their journey on Instagram. And 3, obviously, as a company, they have to ensure the protection and safety of the consumers by verifying creators are following policies. Now, when it comes to the algorithm, you'll hear many people talk bad about the algorithm. The algorithm is not liking what I put out there. The algorithm is going against me. We hear so many of these type of terms when it comes to this almighty algorithm. I want you to remember this quote. Do not focus on the algorithms. Rather, focus on your audience. Replace those 2 words. Because when you start thinking more about your audience, that's when you really unlock the next level. When you make your audience happy, they respond with longer time spent on the app, increased engagement, and more data. And all 3 of those things is what the algorithm is looking for. If you ever heard of the phrase, happy wife, happy life, consider that same phrase, but apply it to the algorithm. Happy audience, happy algorithm. That's how I like to consider it when I'm putting out and creating content.